Gotta say, these feminists got completely owned.
Sticks and stones may break my bones, but there will always be something to offend a feminist.
Peter
Well,
Lloyd.
no, that's just obnoxious.
Peter
Sorry.
Lloyd.
That's the reaction you give when your argument collapses, and yes, we're also breaking down hepeating and mansplaining while we're at it.
And I think it's basically a similar sort of category.
And you
of
think
thing.
we mansplain and all the rest of it?
Occasionally, yeah.
So today, we're gonna cover these moments and you're gonna love every second of it. Just watch the clip before I mansplain more about it.
Had two examples there, Peter. My dear, sweet cheeks. I mean, is it sexist? Is it demeaning to women? And if so, why does it continue?
Well, I think it's really sad that the free market and mainstream culture is entertaining this outrage culture, which it seems so pervasive at the moment. I mean, it's already taken over universities, and now it seems to be bleeding into advertising and marketing. I mean, this research was undertaken by Kellogg's. We know for a fact that banning words doesn't work, policing language doesn't work. It didn't work for Sheryl Sandberg when she wanted to ban the word bossy. It's not going to work now, and nor should it. It's Orwellian. It's like something from 1984. People just need to toughen up.
This interview took place in around 2016, right around the time when the PC movement was on the rise. Kellogg's had conducted a survey asking women about the pet names they disliked the most. The results showed that 40% of the respondents said they felt patronized when subjected to terms like bird, doll, chick, babe, and queen bee. They also found that calling women hormonal, high-maintenance, hysterical, or a drama queen was basically a no-go zone. Naturally, this sparked a whole wave of outrage, with some people demanding that these terms be banned out of respect for people's feelings. And it's safe to say the response we're about to see falls into that category.
Well, I think Peter's kind of completely missing the point. Nobody is saying that words need to be banned, and interesting, he says, why are people so outraged? I think it's just not a big ask to say, hey, well, if you've said, I don't want to be addressed that way, let's just not do it. In the same way that if somebody corrects you that they prefer to be called, Mr. or they prefer to be called Ms. or Mrs. or Miss, just do what they've asked, because that's just polite and civilised. And I don't think anyone is calling for words to be banned. But if I say, oh, actually, my name's not Kathy, it's Kate, and you continue to call me Kathy for days and weeks and months, I mean, I just think, well, you're a bit unpleasant, don't I? I think that's really rude. And why would you keep doing that? And in actual fact, why are you doing that when you know it's going to annoy me? So I think it's not a big ask. What amazes me is that there's a pushback. Is people going, well, it's my free speech, and I can say, well, it is your free speech. Say what you like. But by the same token, I think women should be absolutely free to say, I don't like that term, and in fact, I might not answer to it.
I get where she's coming from, and there's nothing wrong with someone asking their name to be pronounced correctly. Everyone deserves that basic level of respect, but the issue here is with banning words from the English language simply because a couple of people find them offensive. That's where things start heading down a slippery slope. It's one thing to be considerate, but when we start censoring language to avoid emotional harm purely based on someone's feelings, we end up distorting how people speak. This lady kept going in circles, rambling for a few minutes until the host had to wrap it up and ask for Peter's final thoughts, and that's when we got this amazing moment.
We are unfortunately running out of time, but Peter, I just want to get one final thought from you. Are there words that are used to describe men that offend you?
Not particularly, and if there are some I don't like, I certainly wouldn't want them banned. But it always goes back to that old adage: sticks and stones may break my bones, but there will always be something to offend a feminist.
Peter
Well, no, that's just obnoxious.
Peter
Sorry,
Lloyd,
you have to give me a chance to respond to that. That is ridiculous. No, hang on, I won't do your show again if you don't let me respond to that.
Go on, Kate, have a word.
Come on, that's ridiculous.
Peter is an absolute legend, and his delivery made this even more satisfying. Obviously, the host had to let the offended lady speak, but I don't want to waste your precious time, so drop a like and subscribe to the channel for that, since I basically saved you a few brain cells. Now, if you thought that exchange was ridiculous, just wait till you hear the back and forth on Piers Morgan's show, where a feminist tried to defend terms hepeating and mansplaining.
It seems to me, Grace, that hepeating is where, for example, you would have a good idea that you espouse right now, and I would go, yeah, you know what? And then I would repeat the idea and basically assume it is my own. Does this really happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think most women who've been in a professional environment have experienced this at one point or another. This kind of thing of you will pop up with something in a meeting, you'll, have a good idea, say, oh, maybe we should do this, maybe we should focus on this topic, and then someone else will say exactly the same thing and get all the credit. It comes alongside, I think, being interrupted. Now, I don't know if there's any empirical evidence of hepeating, but there's plenty of empirical evidence that men interrupt women a lot more than they interrupt other men. And I think it's basically a similar sort of category.
And you
of
think
thing.
we mansplain and all the rest of it?
Occasionally, yeah.
Look, I don't want to be that guy, but the way that she framed it, you'd think every brilliant idea in the world came from women and men are just lurking around to steal them. At this rate, China might as well be spying on women specifically to steal their IP. Jokes aside though, the concept of hepeating isn't some exclusive tragedy that only happens to ladies. In any workplace or group setting, ideas get repeated by someone else all the time regardless of their sex. That's just how human interaction works, not some grand conspiracy. Piers gave her a great example to show how absurd the modern feminist movement is and said this.
Well, the idea for me, to be honest with you, Grace, was last week it emerged that there's fury over the latest sexism row, which is not enough female scientists are named after parasitic worms. Only 18% of parasitic worms have female scientists names.
Look,
and I'm like,
think...
of all the hills to die on, really?
Who did that research?
You want to be named after parasitic worms?
The reason, funnily enough, that a lot of these issues end up taking up so much of our political conversation is because actually, to be fair, a lot of the conversation around feminism is dominated by relatively privileged women who are in these contexts. What we should be talking about, in my opinion, as feminists, are things like women bore the brunt of austerity. Women are carrying the burden of really just like long-term economic stagnation in this country.
I realise I both
fair.
interrupted you and mansplained. So
That's fine, I'm
Russell,
used to it because I'm
is it-
strong.
Could it be...
Now, the first part of our argument actually makes perfect sense. The modern feminist movement has been hijacked by a loud minority of privileged and out-of-touch women who have completely derailed what feminism was originally about. Instead of fighting for equal opportunity and basic rights, it's all about manufactured outrage, performative victimhood, and finding offense in things that no one even noticed before. Somewhere along the way, the focus shifted from empowerment to entitlement.
You both said, oh, women who are strong don't let this happen, right? And that is in itself a problem because it's this like macho definition
but
of
there are men that
strength,
aren't strong.
which is like, oh, if you shout over everyone else, then you're strong.
Yeah, but if
like
women are
I can
like
do
you,
that.
that's not
I can
gender
shout
specific.
over everyone
Yes.
else, but not everyone, male or female, is going to be like that. And actually, if everyone was
But
like
I would
us,
say more women...
the world would fall apart.
Yeah,
No one would have a conversation.
My response would then be more people should be like you. More
But then
women
no one would be able to have a
should invoke
conversation.
their great
If we were
gender.
all
thing.
shouting
There are as
over
many-
each other all the time.
We're doing it now, but there are as many men that are weak as there are women
Well,
that
again,
are weak.
okay,
It's not gender
weak
specific.
not to like shout over
Unfortunately,
everyone
Grace,
all the time.
I now have to shut you up because we've run out of time.
Someone
It's an interesting
does.
debate. I think you're talking evidence that this doesn't exist. It's a phenomenon invented by weak people.
Exactly. What makes this even funnier is that she was doing the very thing that she was calling out without even realizing it. And honestly, these are the kinds of moments that expose how performative and self-serving some of these so-called activist takes really are. But I'd love to know your thoughts here, so let's get the conversation rolling in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video, please share with your friends. It helps us a ton. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.